Detective Sarah Martinez carried secrets in more ways than most people realized. The worn leather holster on her hip housed a weapon that drew snickers from rookie officers and raised eyebrows from seasoned veterans, while her colleagues carried modern polymer-framed pistols with tactical lights and red dot sights. Sarah's sidearm was a piece of history that belonged in a museum according to most who saw it. But some tools earned their reputation through performance rather than appearance, and some expertise can't be measured by the shine of new equipment. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. What her fellow officers didn't know was that the antiquated revolver had been with Sarah through situations that would have broken lesser weapons and tested skills that couldn't be learned from department training manuals. The scratches on its steel frame told stories of service that exceeded anything found in modern police work, and the smooth action of its cylinder had been perfected through use that went far beyond routine patrol duties. Today would be the day when assumptions about outdated equipment would collide with the reality of proven capability, when the difference between surviving and not surviving would come down to the person behind the weapon rather than the weapon itself, and when respect would be earned not through the latest technology, but through the kind of precision that only comes from years of experience with tools that have never failed when failure meant everything. Detective Sarah Martinez looked exactly like what the personnel files claimed she was. A 15-year veteran of the Metro City Police Department who specialized in property crimes and had worked her way up from patrol officer through persistent competence and professional reliability. At 43, she appeared to be precisely what her colleagues expected from someone with her background: methodical, thorough, and unflappable under the routine pressures of urban law enforcement. Her desk in the detective bureau was organized with the kind of systematic precision that suggested someone who understood the importance of details, and her case clearance rate ranked consistently in the top 10% of the department. But personnel files only tell the stories that people are authorized to know, and Sarah's complete background included chapters that would never appear in any database, accessible through normal departmental channels. For 8 years before joining the Metro City Police Department, Sarah had served as a designated marksman with the 75th Ranger Regiment, handling precision shooting responsibilities that required hitting targets at distances that made standard police training seem elementary by comparison. Her military occupation specialty had been officially listed as infantry, but her actual duties had involved long-range reconnaissance, target elimination, and providing overwatch protection for special operations teams operating in hostile territory. She deployed to Iraq 3 times and Afghanistan twice, accumulating experience with precision shooting under conditions that tested equipment and skills far beyond anything found in conventional military training. Desert environments where sand and heat could disable sophisticated electronic systems. Mountain terrain where elevation and wind required calculations that couldn't be programmed into computer-assisted scopes. Urban environments where a single missed shot could compromise entire operations and endanger friendly forces operating in close proximity to enemy positions. During her military service, Sarah had earned expert ratings with multiple weapon systems, but her preferred tool had always been the same .357 Magnum revolver that now drew amusement from her police colleagues. The weapon had been passed down from her grandfather, who had carried it during his service in the Korean War, and it had accompanied her through every deployment despite regulations that technically required standard-issue sidearms for most personnel. Special operations units operated under different equipment standards, and proven performance usually outweighed regulatory compliance when mission success was the primary consideration. The revolver had saved her life during a Taliban ambush in Afghanistan's Kunar province, when her primary weapon had been damaged by shrapnel and electronic systems had failed due to electromagnetic interference from improvised explosive devices. 6 shots at ranges exceeding 150 meters had eliminated threats that would have overrun her position and compromised the safety of the reconnaissance team she was supporting. The weapon's mechanical simplicity had functioned perfectly when sophisticated equipment had been rendered useless by hostile action. After completing her military service with honors that couldn't be discussed outside classified contexts, Sarah had chosen law enforcement as a career that would allow her to continue serving her community while using skills that translated effectively to civilian public safety work. The transition from military to police work had been smoother than many veterans experienced, primarily because her specialized training in precision shooting and tactical thinking applied directly to the challenges of urban law enforcement. But she'd deliberately chosen to present herself as exactly what her colleagues expected to see: a competent detective who'd worked her way up through normal career progression rather than someone whose background included capabilities that exceeded standard law enforcement training. The department knew she was a military veteran, but her service record reflected only the information that was available through normal background check procedures. Her actual combat experience and specialized training remained invisible to people who didn't have access to classified personnel records. Sarah had established herself as a reliable team member who could be counted on to handle routine investigations with professional competence and appropriate attention to procedural requirements. Her fellow detectives saw someone who understood the importance of proper evidence collection, thorough interviews, and detailed reports that would withstand courtroom scrutiny. She'd built a reputation for handling difficult witnesses and suspects with the kind of calm authority that suggested she'd dealt with challenging people before, though her colleagues assumed this experience came from years of police work rather than military operations. The revolver she carried had become something of a department curiosity, tolerated because of her excellent performance record, but viewed as an anachronism that belonged to an earlier era of law enforcement. Younger officers often asked whether she planned to upgrade to modern equipment, and training instructors occasionally suggested that contemporary weapons systems offered advantages that could improve her effectiveness in the field. Sarah always responded politely that she was comfortable with her current equipment and saw no reason to change what was working effectively. What her colleagues didn't understand was that the weapon represented more than personal preference or sentimental attachment. It embodied a philosophy of equipment selection that prioritized proven reliability over technological sophistication, mechanical simplicity over electronic complexity, and verified performance over marketing claims. Every component of the revolver had been tested under conditions that revealed whether equipment could be trusted when everything else failed. The department's standard issue pistols were excellent weapons that served most officers effectively during normal patrol duties and routine enforcement activities. But Sarah's experience had taught her that equipment selection should be based on worst-case scenarios rather than average-day expectations. The revolver would function reliably, regardless of weather conditions, environmental contamination, or maintenance schedules that might be disrupted by emergency situations. Its mechanical action couldn't be disabled by electronic interference, and its simple design meant that field repairs could be accomplished with basic tools if necessary. During her years with the police department, Sarah had used the weapon successfully during several arrest situations that required the display or use of deadly force. In each case, the revolver had performed exactly as expected, providing the stopping power and accuracy needed to resolve dangerous situations without unnecessary escalation. But these incidents had been routine police work that didn't showcase the weapon's capabilities at the extended ranges where its advantages became most apparent. Her marksmanship scores during departmental qualification sessions consistently ranked among the highest in the department, though she was careful not to demonstrate the full extent of her capabilities during routine training exercises. Police qualification standards were designed to ensure basic competency at ranges appropriate for normal law enforcement activities. typically involving distances of 25 yards or less under controlled conditions. Sarah's military training had involved successfully engaging targets at ranges exceeding 500 yards under combat conditions. But such capabilities were unnecessary for routine police work and might have raised questions about her background that she preferred to avoid. The detective bureau where Sarah worked handled investigations that typically didn't require long-range shooting skills or tactical capabilities beyond normal police training. Property crimes, fraud cases, and routine criminal investigations were solved through methodical detective work rather than specialized combat skills. Her military experience provided advantages in terms of attention to detail, systematic thinking, and comfort under pressure, but her shooting expertise remained largely irrelevant to her daily responsibilities. Her desk was positioned near the back corner of the detective bureau, providing a clear view of all entrances and exits, a habit developed during military service that had become unconscious behavior in civilian environments. The location also kept her somewhat separated from the casual conversations and departmental politics that occupied much of her colleagues' attention during slow periods. Sarah preferred to focus on casework rather than social dynamics, and her reputation for professional competence meant that supervisors rarely questioned her work methods or social preferences. The other detectives respected her thoroughness and reliability, though they sometimes found her intensity unnecessary for routine investigations. She approached every case with the kind of systematic preparation that suggested she was expecting complications, reviewing evidence multiple times and developing contingency plans for situations that might arise during arrests or interviews. This level of preparation was viewed as professional diligence by supervisors, but some colleagues considered it excessive for the types of cases typically handled by the property crimes unit. Sarah's personal vehicle was a modified pickup truck that appeared ordinary to casual observers, but included equipment and supplies that reflected her military background and ongoing commitment to preparedness. Emergency medical supplies, communication equipment, and tools that might be needed during extended operations were stored in concealed compartments that weren't visible during normal use. The modifications were subtle enough to avoid drawing attention, but comprehensive enough to support extended operations if circumstances required. Capabilities beyond normal police resources. Her apartment was furnished with the kind of functional simplicity that suggested someone who valued utility over decoration. Exercise equipment, reference books, and communication devices were positioned to support daily routines that maintained the physical and mental readiness she'd developed during military service. The living space reflected someone who understood that readiness was a continuous process rather than something that could be achieved through occasional training sessions. But the most significant aspect of Sarah's hidden identity wasn't her specialized training or combat experience. It was her understanding that real expertise often appeared in forms that didn't match civilian expectations. Military service had taught her that the most effective operators were frequently those who could blend into normal environments while maintaining capabilities that exceeded standard requirements. The lesson had applications beyond military contexts, influencing how she approached police work and professional relationships within the department. Today would begin like any other day in the detective bureau, with routine cases and standard procedures that drew on conventional police training, rather than specialized military skills. But some situations escalate beyond normal parameters, and when they do, the difference between survival and catastrophe often comes down to capabilities that exist beneath the surface of ordinary appearances. Sarah carried her grandfather's revolver not as a nostalgic reminder of family history, but as a tool whose reliability had been proven under conditions that revealed whether equipment could be trusted when everything else failed. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The Federal Bureau of Investigation's Regional Tactical Operations Center occupied 3 floors of a nondescript office building in downtown Metro City, deliberately designed to appear as unremarkable as any other government facility. The building's exterior suggested nothing more significant than routine administrative offices, but the interior housed some of the most sophisticated law enforcement technology and personnel on the East Coast. Advanced communication systems, tactical planning facilities, and briefing rooms equipped with classified intelligence networks supported operations that extended far beyond local jurisdiction boundaries. Special Agent Director Marcus Chun had been running tactical operations for the FBI's Metro region for 8 years, coordinating federal law enforcement activities that required integration between multiple agencies and jurisdictions. His background included military service with Marine Corps Force Reconnaissance and 15 years with the Bureau's hostage rescue team before transitioning to administrative responsibilities that utilized his operational experience for planning and coordination rather than direct action. Shun understood that successful multi-agency operations depended more on effective communication and clear command structure than on individual heroics or sophisticated equipment. The morning briefing on Tuesday, October 15th, began with intelligence reports that had been developing for 3 weeks. A domestic terrorist cell operating under the name American Liberation Front had been tracked through electronic surveillance and human intelligence sources to a warehouse complex in Metro City's industrial district. The group had acquired military-grade weapons and explosives through connections with international arms dealers, and their communications indicated plans for an attack on federal facilities that would result in significant casualties among law enforcement personnel and civilian employees. FBI intelligence analyst Rebecca Foster presented the assessment that had convinced federal prosecutors to authorize tactical intervention. The target group consisted of 7 individuals with military training and access to sophisticated weapon systems, including armor-piercing ammunition and improvised explosive devices. Their leader, former Army Special Forces operator Daniel Kruger, had been dishonorably discharged following an incident involving civilian casualties during overseas operations and had since become radicalized through extremist ideology that viewed federal law enforcement as an occupying force. The subjects have established defensive positions within a converted warehouse that provides multiple escape routes and elevated firing positions, Foster explained to the assembled tactical team leaders. Intelligence indicates they're expecting a federal response and have prepared accordingly with crew-served weapons and explosive devices designed to inflict maximum casualties on responding personnel. The warehouse complex consisted of 4 connected buildings covering approximately 200,000 square feet, with loading docks, office spaces, and storage areas that had been modified to create defensive positions. The subjects had been observed installing reinforced barriers, communications equipment, and weapon emplacements that suggested they intended to conduct a prolonged standoff rather than attempt immediate escape when confronted by law enforcement. Chun studied the facility blueprints while considering the tactical challenges presented by the target location. The warehouse provided the subjects with significant advantages, including elevated positions, multiple escape routes, and interior spaces that could conceal defensive preparations from external surveillance. Standard tactical approaches would require substantial personnel and equipment while exposing federal agents to significant risk from prepared defensive positions. What's our timeline for intervention? Shun asked, understanding that domestic terrorist operations typically escalated quickly once subjects realized they were under surveillance. Communications intercepts suggest they're planning to move against federal targets within 72 hours. Foster replied. Local FBI offices, federal courthouses, and possibly the Regional Tactical Operations Center itself. They've conducted surveillance of all these facilities and have detailed information about security procedures and personnel schedules. The threat assessment required immediate tactical response, but the complexity of the target location demanded careful planning to minimize casualties among both law enforcement personnel and any civilians who might be present in the surrounding area. The warehouse district included legitimate businesses and residential areas that could be affected by tactical operations, particularly if the subjects attempted to create diversions or escape routes through occupied buildings. Chun began coordinating with local law enforcement agencies that would provide support for federal tactical operations. Metro City Police Department's Special Weapons and Tactics Team would establish perimeter security and crowd control, while the Sheriff's Department's helicopter unit would provide aerial surveillance and emergency medical evacuation capabilities. State police tactical teams would serve as backup personnel and handle any subjects who attempted to escape the primary containment area. The coordination meeting was scheduled for 1400 hours at the Metro City Police Department's headquarters, bringing together federal agents, local tactical team leaders, and specialized personnel who would be involved in the operation. Each agency would contribute specific capabilities based on their training and equipment, but overall command and control would remain with federal authorities due to the domestic terrorism charges that provided FBI jurisdiction. Detective Sarah Martinez received notification of the multi-agency briefing through routine departmental communications, though the message provided only basic information about federal cooperation requirements and tactical support responsibilities. As a detective assigned to property crimes investigations, she wouldn't normally be involved in tactical operations, but all departmental personnel were required to remain available for emergency assignments that might arise during major operations. Police Department's briefing room was filled with tactical team members, supervisors, and specialized personnel who would coordinate with federal agencies during the upcoming operation. Sarah observed the proceedings from the back of the room, noting the professional confidence of officers who specialized in high-risk operations and the sophisticated equipment that would be deployed during the tactical response. Body armor, automatic weapons, night vision devices, and communication systems that represented the latest advances in law enforcement technology. Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson, commander of the department's SWAT team, reviewed the tactical plan that had been developed in coordination with federal authorities. This is a high-risk operation involving subjects with military training and access to sophisticated weapons, Patterson announced to his team. Federal agents will handle primary assault responsibilities while we provide perimeter security and backup support. The tactical plan called for a coordinated assault at dawn, when subjects would be least alert and visibility conditions would favor law enforcement personnel equipped with night vision capabilities. Federal hostage rescue. Team operators would breach the primary entrances while local SWAT teams established containment positions around the warehouse complex. Sniper teams would provide overwatch from elevated positions in surrounding buildings, ready to engage any subjects who attempted to escape or establish firing positions that threatened assault personnel. Sarah listened to the briefing while mentally comparing the planned operation to similar situations she'd encountered during military service. The tactical approach was sound and reflected proper coordination between multiple agencies, but she noticed that the plan relied heavily on close-quarters combat capabilities rather than long-range precision shooting. The warehouse complexes. Size and configuration would create engagement distances that exceeded normal law enforcement training parameters, particularly if subjects attempted to establish defensive positions in elevated locations. Equipment check will be conducted at 0500 hours tomorrow, Patterson continued. All personnel will verify communication systems, protective equipment, and weapons before deployment. This operation involves domestic terrorists with military training, so we're taking no chances with preparation or execution. The mention of equipment verification prompted murmurs of approval from tactical team members who understood that equipment failures during high-risk operations could result in casualties among law enforcement personnel. Modern tactical equipment was highly reliable, but complex systems required careful maintenance and verification to ensure functionality under stress conditions. Sarah noticed that the tactical plan didn't include provisions for long-range precision shooting beyond standard sniper positions at ranges typical for urban law enforcement operations. The warehouse complex's configuration would create potential engagement distances exceeding 200 meters, particularly if subjects attempted to establish firing positions in the facility's upper levels or attempted escape through loading dock areas that opened onto large parking lots. During her military service, Sarah had participated in similar operations where initial tactical plans had been modified based on changing conditions and unexpected subject behavior. Successful operations required flexibility and the ability to adapt when circumstances didn't match planning assumptions. The most critical factor was often having personnel with capabilities that exceeded standard parameters, ready to handle situations that fell outside normal tactical procedures. As the briefing concluded, Sarah approached Lieutenant Patterson to discuss potential support requirements that might arise during the operation. Her offer to provide additional capabilities was politely declined, as federal authorities had specifically requested that local agency participation be limited to predetermined support roles. Too many personnel in operational areas could create confusion and increase the risk of friendly fire incidents. But Sarah's experience had taught her that tactical operations rarely proceeded according to initial plans, and complex situations often required capabilities that hadn't been anticipated during planning phases. She made a mental note to remain available for emergency assignments that might develop if the operation encountered unexpected complications. The Federal Tactical Team had established a command post in a mobile communications vehicle positioned approximately 1 mile from the target warehouse. Advanced surveillance equipment provided real-time intelligence about subject activities, while communication systems maintained contact with all participating agencies. Special Agent Chun monitored the tactical preparations while reviewing intelligence updates that continued to arrive from ongoing surveillance operations. Subjects appear to be maintaining normal activity patterns, reported Surveillance Team Leader, Agent Williams. No indication they're aware of federal response preparations, but their defensive positions suggest they're expecting eventual law enforcement action. The warehouse complex remained under continuous surveillance through electronic and human intelligence assets that had been positioned to monitor all potential escape routes and communication activities. Thermal imaging systems revealed the presence of multiple subjects within the facility, though their exact positions and activities remained partially concealed by the building's construction materials and defensive modifications. Chun studied the latest intelligence updates while considering contingency plans that might be required if the operation encountered unexpected resistance or if subjects attempted escape routes that hadn't been anticipated during initial planning. The warehouse district's configuration provided numerous potential hiding places and escape routes that couldn't all be covered by available personnel, particularly if subjects were willing to move through occupied civilian areas. What's our backup plan if subjects attempt long-range engagement from elevated positions? Chun asked his tactical planning team. The warehouse facility included loading dock areas and upper-level windows that could provide firing positions at distances exceeding normal tactical engagement ranges. Sniper teams will be positioned to cover potential escape routes and elevated firing positions, replied Tactical Team Leader, Agent Foster. Standard engagement protocols for subjects attempting to establish defensive positions outside the primary containment area. But Chun's experience with tactical operations had taught him that standard protocols sometimes proved inadequate. When subjects demonstrated capabilities or equipment that exceeded normal expectations. Domestic terrorists with military training might attempt tactical responses that fell outside normal law enforcement parameters, particularly if they realized they were facing overwhelming force and chose to create maximum casualties rather than attempt escape. The final tactical briefing was scheduled for 0400 hours, providing all participating personnel with updated intelligence and last-minute modifications to operational plans. Each agency would conduct final equipment verification and communication checks before moving to their assigned positions around the warehouse complex. The operation would commence at 0630 hours, when dawn lighting conditions would provide optimal visibility for assault teams while minimizing advantages for subjects defending from interior positions. Sarah reviewed her own equipment that evening, though she wasn't officially assigned to tactical duties during the upcoming operation. Her department-issued body armor, radio equipment, and standard patrol gear were maintained in ready condition, but she also verified the condition of personal equipment that might be needed if emergency situations required capabilities beyond normal patrol responsibilities. The .357 Magnum revolver received particular attention during her equipment check. The weapon was cleaned, lubricated, and loaded with carefully selected ammunition that had been proven effective during previous military operations. Each cartridge was inspected for defects that could cause malfunctions, and spare ammunition was prepared in speed loaders that would allow rapid reloading under stress conditions. Her personal vehicle was stocked with additional equipment that might be needed during extended operations: medical supplies, communication gear, and tools that could support tactical activities if circumstances required her involvement beyond normal detective responsibilities. The preparations were probably unnecessary, but military experience had taught her that being over-prepared was preferable to discovering critical equipment shortages during emergency situations. Tomorrow would bring a tactical operation that would test the coordination between multiple law enforcement agencies and the effectiveness of modern tactical procedures against subjects with military training and sophisticated weapons. Most participating personnel expected a successful conclusion based on superior numbers, equipment, and tactical training. But some situations escalate beyond normal parameters, and when they do, success often depends on having the right person with the right capabilities in the right place at the right time. The dawn assault commenced precisely at 0630 hours with coordinated breaches at 3 primary entry points around the warehouse complex. Federal hostage rescue team operators advanced through smoke and flashbang diversions, while local SWAT teams maintained perimeter positions designed to prevent subject escape through secondary routes. The initial penetration proceeded according to tactical plans, with assault teams encountering prepared defensive positions, but managing to establish footholds within the facility's ground-level areas. Special Agent Chun monitored the operation from the mobile command post, tracking team movements through helmet-mounted cameras and communication systems that provided real-time updates on tactical progress. The warehouse's interior configuration matched intelligence assessments, with reinforced barriers and elevated platforms that provided subjects with defensive advantages but didn't prevent federal operators from advancing through systematic room clearing procedures. Alpha Team has secured the east loading dock, reported Team Leader Agent Rodriguez through encrypted communications. Encountering light resistance from prepared positions, but subjects appear to be falling back toward upper levels. The tactical situation developed as anticipated during planning sessions, with subjects retreating from ground-level positions toward elevated areas that provided better fields of fire and additional escape routes. But as federal operators advanced through the warehouse's lower levels, they discovered that the facility's defensive modifications were more extensive than surveillance had indicated. Be advised, subjects have established interlocking fields of fire from multiple elevated positions, Rodriguez continued. We're taking accurate fire from ranges exceeding normal engagement distances. Requesting sniper support for suppression of elevated threats. FBI sniper teams positioned in surrounding buildings attempted to engage subjects firing from the warehouse's upper-level windows, but the facility's construction materials and defensive modifications limited their effectiveness. Steel reinforced barriers and angled firing ports provided subjects with protection, while allowing them to maintain accurate fire against advancing assault teams. Chan realized that the tactical situation was becoming more complex than initial planning had anticipated. What's the effective range of subject fire? He asked, understanding that engagement distances could affect the operation's success. Subjects are engaging from positions approximately 150 to 200 meters from our advance teams, Rodriguez replied. Accuracy suggests military training and possibly scope-enhanced weapons. Standard tactical response may be insufficient for current conditions. The warehouse complex's size and configuration had created engagement scenarios that exceeded normal. Law enforcement training parameters. Federal operators were equipped for close-quarters combat at ranges typical for building clearing operations, but subjects with military sniper training could effectively engage at distances where tactical teams couldn't respond with equal accuracy. Lieutenant Patterson's SWAT team maintained perimeter security while monitoring federal communications that indicated the operation was encountering unexpected complications. Federal teams are requesting additional sniper support, Patterson announced. To his personnel, subjects are demonstrating long-range capabilities that weren't anticipated during planning. Officer Michael Torres, a 5-year veteran of the department's tactical team, studied the warehouse complex through binoculars while considering the challenges faced by assault teams. Those upper-level positions provide excellent fields of fire, he observed. Subjects with military training could hold off advancing teams indefinitely from those locations. The tactical situation had evolved into exactly the kind of standoff that federal planners had hoped to avoid. Subjects with military training and prepared positions were demonstrating capabilities that matched or exceeded those of responding law enforcement personnel, particularly at engagement ranges where their defensive advantages became most pronounced. Detective Sarah Martinez arrived at the outer perimeter after receiving emergency notification that all departmental personnel should report for potential assignment during the ongoing federal operation. She parked her vehicle at the designated staging area and approached the command post to determine what support responsibilities might be required from non-tactical personnel. Detective Martinez reporting for emergency assignment, she announced. To Sergeant Williams, who was coordinating departmental support activities. We're maintaining perimeter security and crowd control, Williams replied. Federal operation is encountering some complications, but they're handling primary tactical responsibilities. Sarah observed the tactical situation while listening to radio communications that indicated federal teams were facing more resistance than anticipated. The warehouse complex's configuration and the subject's military training had created engagement scenarios that challenged standard tactical procedures. What kind of complications? She asked, understanding that tactical operations could escalate quickly when initial plans encountered unexpected resistance. Subjects are engaging from long-range positions that our sniper teams can't effectively suppress, Williams explained. Federal teams are requesting additional support, but we're limited to perimeter responsibilities. Through her binoculars, Sarah studied the warehouse complex and immediately recognized the tactical challenges facing assault teams. The facility's upper levels provided subjects with commanding fields of fire at ranges where their military training would provide significant advantages over law enforcement personnel equipped for close-quarters combat. Sergeant, what's the maximum effective range of our sniper teams? She asked, though she suspected the answer wouldn't address the current tactical requirements. Standard department sniper protocols are designed for urban law enforcement scenarios at ranges up to 100 meters. Williams replied. These engagement distances appear to exceed normal parameters. Sarah realized that the tactical situation had created exactly the kind of scenario where her military experience might prove valuable. Rangers had trained extensively for long range, precision shooting under combat conditions, engaging targets at distances that exceeded normal law enforcement capabilities. But her offer to provide additional support would need to be carefully presented to avoid revealing capabilities that might raise questions about her background. Meanwhile, federal assault teams were discovering that their standard equipment and tactics were insufficient for the current situation. Body armor designed for close-quarters combat provided adequate protection against standard ammunition at normal engagement ranges, but subjects firing from elevated positions with military-grade weapons were demonstrating accuracy that threatened advancing personnel. Alpha Team is pinned down by accurate fire from multiple elevated positions, Rodriguez reported. Requesting immediate sniper support to suppress threats before we can continue advance. FBI sniper teams were experiencing similar challenges, finding that their positions and equipment were optimized for typical law enforcement scenarios rather than the extended range engagements required by the warehouse complex's configuration. Standard police sniper rifles and training procedures were proving inadequate against subjects with military equipment and defensive positions. Sniper Team 1 is unable to effectively engage targets due to range and defensive modifications, reported team leader Agent Foster. Subjects have prepared positions that limit our engagement opportunities while maintaining their ability to fire on advancing teams. The tactical stalemate was developing exactly as Sarah had anticipated based on her analysis of the facility's layout and the subject's probable capabilities. Military-trained individuals with prepared defensive positions could maintain effective resistance against conventional law enforcement tactics, particularly when engagement ranges exceeded normal training parameters. Officer Torres approached Sarah while she observed the tactical situation through binoculars. "Detective, you were military, right?" he asked, having noticed her systematic analysis of the warehouse complex and tactical situation. "Army service, yes," Sarah replied carefully, not wanting to reveal the extent of her specialized training. "What do you think about this situation?" Torres continued. "Federal teams seem to be having trouble with those long-range positions." Sarah studied the warehouse complex while considering how much tactical analysis she could provide without revealing capabilities that exceeded normal veteran background. Subjects with military training in prepared defensive positions have significant advantages, she observed. Standard tactical approaches may require modification for this specific scenario. Her assessment was diplomatically understated, but Torres recognized that she understood tactical complexities that weren't immediately obvious to personnel without military experience. "Think there's anything our department could contribute?" he asked before Sarah could respond. Lieutenant Patterson approached their position with radio communications, indicating that federal commanders were requesting additional support from local agencies. "Detective Martinez, you have a military background?" Patterson asked, having overheard their conversation. 8 years Army service, Sarah confirmed, maintaining the same general description she'd always provided to departmental personnel. "Federal teams are requesting additional sniper support for long-range engagement capabilities," Patterson explained. "Our standard sniper team is equipped for normal law enforcement ranges, but this situation appears to require different capabilities." Sarah realized that the tactical situation was creating an opportunity to contribute her specialized skills without necessarily revealing the full extent of her military training. "Lieutenant, I maintained expert marksman qualifications during military service," she offered. "If additional long-range capabilities would be helpful." Patterson studied her credentials mentally. remembering that her departmental records showed military veteran status but didn't provide detailed information about specialized training or combat experience. "What kind of ranges are we talking about?" he asked. "Military marksman training typically involves effective engagement at ranges exceeding 300 meters, Sarah replied, carefully understating her actual capabilities. "The warehouse situation appears to involve engagement distances around 200 meters. The tactical communication from federal teams was becoming increasingly urgent as assault personnel remained pinned down by accurate fire from elevated positions. Standard law enforcement sniper support was proving inadequate for the current engagement parameters, and federal commanders were requesting any additional capabilities that local agencies could provide. "Detective, what equipment would you need for that kind of engagement?" Patterson asked, beginning to consider whether her military background might address the tactical requirements that federal teams were encountering. Sarah glanced toward her vehicle, where her personal equipment was stored in concealed compartments. "I maintain personal equipment suitable for extended range engagement," she replied. "Standard departmental issue wouldn't be appropriate for current tactical requirements." Patterson's radio crackled with another urgent communication from federal teams, requesting immediate sniper support to suppress elevated threats that were preventing tactical advance. The situation was reaching a critical point where additional casualties among law enforcement personnel were becoming likely unless the tactical balance could be shifted. "Get your equipment," Patterson ordered. "Federal teams need immediate support, and we're authorized to provide any capabilities that can address current tactical requirements." As Sarah moved toward her vehicle to retrieve her specialized equipment, she noticed other tactical team members exchanging glances that suggested they were surprised by the lieutenant's decision to deploy a detective for sniper support. Their expressions reflected the kind of professional skepticism that was natural when standard procedures were modified during high-stress operations. "Is Martinez really qualified for long-range engagement?" Torres asked Patterson quietly. "This isn't exactly routine detective work. Military veteran with expert marksman qualifications," Patterson replied. "Federal teams need immediate support, and she's the only person available with appropriate background." But other team members were less convinced that a property crimes detective could provide the specialized capabilities required for tactical sniper support during a federal operation against military-trained subjects. Their training emphasized team coordination and standardized procedures, and improvised solutions during high-risk operations could create additional complications. "Sir, shouldn't federal sniper teams handle this themselves?" asked Officer Rodriguez, expressing the concern that many tactical personnel felt about non-specialists being deployed during complex operations. "Federal sniper teams are requesting additional support because their standard capabilities aren't sufficient for current conditions," Patterson explained. "We're providing whatever assistance we can to ensure mission success." Sarah retrieved her equipment case from the concealed compartment in her vehicle, noting the curious attention from tactical team members who were observing her preparations. The case contained her grandfather's .357 Magnum revolver, custom ammunition, and specialized accessories that had been maintained in ready condition despite her transition to civilian law enforcement. When she opened the case, the reaction from nearby personnel was immediate and unmistakable. Several tactical team members exchanged glances that clearly communicated their skepticism about the antiquated weapon that was being proposed as a solution to sophisticated tactical requirements. "That's your long-range precision equipment?" Torres asked, unable to conceal his amazement at the vintage revolver that looked like it belonged in a museum rather than a tactical operation. 6-inch barrel .357 Magnum with custom ammunition. Sarah replied matter-of-factly, beginning her equipment check procedures. "Mechanically reliable and capable of accurate engagement at required ranges." The reaction from tactical team members reflected exactly the kind of professional skepticism that Sarah had encountered throughout her civilian career. Modern law enforcement personnel were trained to rely on contemporary equipment and standardized procedures, and her choice of weapon appeared to contradict everything they'd learned about effective tactical operations. "Ma'am, federal teams are equipped with sophisticated sniper rifles and advanced optics," Rodriguez observed diplomatically. "Maybe we should recommend they request additional federal resources instead of improvising with alternative equipment." The underlying message was clear. Tactical team members doubted that a detective armed with an antique revolver could provide capabilities that exceeded those of federal sniper teams equipped with modern precision rifles and advanced targeting systems. Their skepticism was professionally reasonable based on their training and experience with contemporary law enforcement equipment. Lieutenant Patterson's radio erupted with urgent communications from the federal command post as the tactical situation deteriorated rapidly. "All available sniper support to suppress elevated threats immediately," came the transmission from Special Agent Chun. "Alpha Team has 2 officers down, medical evacuation required. Advance halted due to accurate hostile fire from warehouse upper levels." The warehouse complex had become a killing field where subjects with military training were demonstrating precision shooting capabilities that exceeded federal team expectations. From their elevated defensive positions, the terrorists were maintaining accurate fire at ranges where standard law enforcement tactics proved inadequate, creating a tactical stalemate that threatened to result in additional casualties among advancing personnel. Sarah completed her equipment preparation, while tactical team members continued to express doubt about her unconventional approach to the crisis. The .357 Magnum revolver appeared primitive compared to the sophisticated sniper systems that federal teams were employing, and her calm confidence seemed inconsistent with the gravity of the situation facing law enforcement personnel. "Detective, are you certain about this?" Patterson asked, his voice carrying the weight of command responsibility for decisions that could affect officer safety. "We're talking about engaging military-trained subjects at extended range during active combat conditions." "Lieutenant, I understand the tactical requirements," Sarah replied, checking the cylinder alignment and trigger action with the systematic precision of someone who had performed similar preparations under significantly more challenging conditions. "This weapon system is capable of effective engagement at required ranges." Officer Torres studied the warehouse complex through his binoculars, noting the muzzle flashes from subject positions that indicated sustained, accurate fire against federal assault teams. "Those subjects are maintaining effective fire from at least 180 meters, he observed, using what appears to be scoped rifles with military-grade ammunition. The tactical challenge was becoming increasingly clear to everyone monitoring the operation. Subjects positioned in the warehouse's upper levels had clear fields of fire across the facility's loading dock areas and parking lots, creating engagement zones where their military training provided decisive advantages over law enforcement. Personnel equipped for close-quarters operations. Sarah moved toward the building that had been designated as the primary sniper position, a 3-story office complex approximately 200 meters from the warehouse facility. Federal sniper teams had already established positions there, but their inability to effectively suppress hostile fire had created the tactical crisis that was threatening mission success. As she climbed the stairs to the building's roof access, Sarah encountered FBI sniper team leader Agent Foster, who was repositioning his equipment after failing to neutralize threats from the warehouse positions. His frustration was evident as he struggled with engagement conditions that exceeded his training parameters. "Ma'am, this is a restricted tactical area," Foster announced, noting Sarah's approach with equipment that didn't match federal standards. "Sniper operations require specialized training and equipment clearance." "Detective Martinez, Metro City Police Department," Sarah identified herself. requested by Federal Command for additional sniper support. Foster studied her equipment with the same skeptical expression that had become familiar to Sarah throughout her civilian career. Detective, Federal sniper teams are equipped with precision rifle systems designed for extended range engagement. What exactly are you planning to contribute with that? Sidearm? The question reflected exactly the kind of professional doubt that Sarah had learned to expect when her unconventional methods encountered standard expectations. Federal agents were trained to rely on sophisticated equipment and established procedures, and her approach appeared to contradict everything they understood about effective tactical operations. Agent Foster, subjects are maintaining accurate fire from elevated positions at approximately 200 meters. Sarah observed, studying the warehouse complex through her own assessment of the tactical situation. Current Federal sniper capabilities appear insufficient for engagement requirements. Foster's expression hardened at the implied criticism of his team's performance, though he couldn't deny that standard Federal sniper procedures were proving inadequate for the current situation. Ma'am, we're dealing with military-trained subjects using prepared defensive positions and possibly enhanced optical systems. This requires precision rifle capabilities, not whatever that is. Sarah positioned herself at the building's edge and began her range estimation procedures, using techniques that had been developed during military service under combat conditions, significantly more challenging than the current law enforcement scenario. Wind speed, atmospheric conditions, target distance, and elevation differences were calculated using methods that had been proven effective during operations, where miscalculation meant mission failure. Agent Foster, what's your current assessment of subject capabilities? She asked, genuinely interested in his professional evaluation of the tactical situation. Subjects are demonstrating military sniper training with what appears to be scoped rifle systems, Foster replied. Accurate fire at ranges exceeding 150 meters, possibly using armor-piercing ammunition. They've established interlocking fields of fire that prevent our advance teams from closing distance. The tactical situation was exactly what Sarah had anticipated. Based on her analysis of the warehouse facility and intelligence reports about subject backgrounds, military-trained individuals with prepared defensive positions could maintain effective resistance against conventional law enforcement tactics, particularly when they possessed equipment and training comparable to their opponents. Through the building's window, Sarah observed the warehouse complex, while identifying specific threat positions that were maintaining fire against Federal assault teams. 3 subjects were visible in upper-level windows, using what appeared to be military-style rifles with optical scopes. Their firing positions were well concealed behind reinforced barriers, but their muzzle flashes revealed exact locations. During each engagement sequence, Agent Foster, which positions are priority targets for suppression? Sarah asked, beginning her final equipment preparation. Northern window, 3rd floor. Subject with scoped rifle maintaining accurate fire on Alpha Team advance, Foster replied, pointing toward a position approximately 200 meters distant. Secondary priority is eastern loading dock area, elevated platform, subject providing overwatch for northern position. Sarah studied both target locations while calculating engagement parameters that accounted for distance, elevation, wind conditions, and the specific ballistic characteristics of her ammunition. The .357 Magnum cartridges had been hand-loaded with bullets and powder charges, selected for maximum accuracy at extended ranges, providing performance that exceeded standard factory. Ammunition. Agent Foster, when I engage the northern position, subjects may attempt to relocate or increase their rate of fire, Sarah warned. Be prepared to engage targets of opportunity if they expose themselves during movement. Foster nodded, though his expression still reflected doubt about her unconventional approach to the tactical situation. Detective, I have to ask, what exactly is your background with long-range precision shooting? Military service included designated marksman responsibilities. Sarah replied, maintaining the same general description she'd provided throughout her civilian career. Sufficient. Training for current tactical requirements. The radio communication from federal assault teams was becoming increasingly urgent as subjects maintained effective fire that prevented any advance toward the warehouse facility. Medical evacuation for wounded officers was being hampered by hostile fire, and the tactical situation was approaching the point where federal commanders might need to consider withdrawal rather than accept additional casualties. All sniper positions, we need immediate suppression of elevated threats, came the transmission from Special Agent Chun. Alpha Team cannot advance or evacuate wounded personnel under current conditions. Sarah positioned herself at the window, establishing a stable shooting position using techniques that had been developed during military training for precision engagement under stress conditions. The revolver was held in a modified Weaver stance that provided maximum stability while allowing rapid target acquisition and engagement of multiple threats. Agent Foster watched her preparations with professional curiosity, noting the systematic approach that suggested genuine training rather than improvised tactics. Detective, that firing position looks like military training, he observed. What unit were you with? Army service, 8 years, Sarah replied, maintaining her standard response while focusing on target acquisition procedures. Through the revolver's iron sights, Sarah identified the subject in the northern window position who was maintaining accurate fire against federal assault teams. The target was partially concealed behind defensive barriers, but enough of his profile was visible to allow precise shot placement at the required range. Wind conditions were minimal. Elevation difference was approximately 15 feet, and the target distance was measured at 198 meters based on her range estimation calculations. The .357 Magnum cartridge would maintain sufficient velocity and energy for effective engagement at that range, particularly with the custom ammunition that had been selected for extended range accuracy. Agent Foster, I'm engaging the northern position in 10 seconds. Sarah announced, beginning her final sight alignment and trigger control procedures. Detective, that's nearly 200 meters with a revolver, Foster replied, his voice carrying obvious skepticism about the proposed engagement. Federal sniper teams with precision rifles haven't been able to effectively engage at that range. Sarah's response came through steady trigger pressure applied with the kind of controlled precision that had been developed through thousands of practice repetitions during military training. The revolver's action was smooth and predictable, breaking cleanly at exactly the pressure point she'd calculated for optimal accuracy. The shot surprised Foster with its volume and muzzle flash, far more dramatic than the suppressed precision rifles that federal sniper teams typically employed. But his amazement at the weapons report was nothing compared to his shock at observing the target through his optical scope. Holy shit, Foster whispered, watching the subject in the northern window position collapse backward as Sarah's bullet found its mark with devastating precision. That was a perfect center mass hit at nearly 200 meters. The effect on the tactical situation was immediate and decisive. Subjects in other positions ceased fire momentarily, apparently shocked by the sudden elimination of their primary sniper. Federal assault teams reported that hostile fire had been significantly reduced, allowing them to begin movement toward the warehouse facility. But Sarah was already transitioning to her second target, the subject providing overwatch from the eastern loading dock position. The engagement sequence was repeated with the same systematic precision, range estimation, and environmental calculations, followed by careful sight alignment and controlled trigger pressure. The second shot eliminated the eastern position subject with equal effectiveness, creating a tactical breakthrough that federal teams had been unable to achieve with their sophisticated equipment and standard procedures. The psychological impact on remaining subjects was evident as their rate of fire decreased dramatically and their accuracy deteriorated under the pressure of precise counter-sniper fire. Jesus Christ, she just neutralized both primary sniper positions with a revolver, Foster reported through his radio communication to Federal Command. Subjects eliminated at ranges exceeding 190 meters with what appears to be iron sight engagement. Agent Foster stared at Sarah with professional amazement that transcended his initial skepticism about her unconventional equipment and methods. "Detective, that was the most impressive precision shooting I've ever witnessed during tactical operations. How the hell did you make those shots with that weapon?" Sarah was already identifying a potential third target when radio communications indicated that remaining subjects were attempting to surrender rather than continue engagement against counter-sniper fire that had proven devastatingly effective. The tactical situation had shifted completely in favor of Federal assault teams, who were now able to advance through the warehouse facility without effective resistance. Agent Foster, military-designated marksman training, emphasizes precision engagement under combat conditions, Sarah replied, beginning to secure her weapon as the immediate threat was neutralized. Equipment selection is less important than shooter capability and proper application of fundamentals. The radio transmission from Special Agent Chun confirmed that the tactical operation was concluding successfully. All position subjects are surrendering, cease fire, and prepare for custodial operations. Outstanding sniper support. Threat neutralization was decisive for mission success. Foster continued to study Sarah with the kind of professional respect that came from witnessing capabilities that exceeded his own training and experience. "Detective, those were combat-level precision shots under tactical conditions. Your military background must have involved specialized training. Army service provided adequate preparation for current requirements," Sarah replied, maintaining her diplomatic approach to questions about her background. But Foster's experience with Federal tactical operations allowed him to recognize performance that transcended normal military training. "Ma'am, I've worked with military snipers from various units, and what you just demonstrated suggests training that goes beyond standard Army marksmanship programs." The warehouse complex was now secure, with Federal assault teams advancing through the facility to apprehend surrendering subjects and ensure that no additional threats remained concealed within the building. Medical teams were evacuating wounded officers, while tactical teams conducted systematic searches to locate any explosive devices or weapons caches that subjects might have positioned throughout the facility. Lieutenant Patterson's voice came through radio communications to confirm that local law enforcement support had contributed to mission success. "Detective Martinez, Federal teams are requesting your presence at the command post for operational debriefing. Outstanding performance. Your sniper support was decisive for tactical success." As Sarah prepared to leave the sniper position, Agent Foster made a final observation that reflected his growing understanding of her actual capabilities. "Detective, Federal sniper teams are going to want to know more about your training and equipment. Those precision shots at extended range with iron sights represent shooting skills that exceed most Federal tactical training standards." The warehouse operation had concluded with complete tactical success, but the revelation of Sarah's precision shooting capabilities had created professional curiosity among Federal personnel, who recognized performance that transcended normal law enforcement expectations. Questions about her background and training would inevitably follow, though she would continue to provide the same general responses that had served her throughout her civilian career. Walking back toward the command post, Sarah reflected on the morning's events while considering how her demonstration of specialized capabilities might affect her position within the department. The tactical situation had required exactly the kind of precision shooting that she'd been trained to provide during military service, but revealing those capabilities to Federal agents and local tactical personnel would create professional attention that she'd spent years avoiding. The ancient revolver had performed exactly as expected, delivering precision engagement capabilities that exceeded the sophisticated equipment employed by federal sniper teams. But more significantly, the morning's events had demonstrated that some expertise transcended equipment specifications and that proven capabilities often appeared in forms that didn't match contemporary expectations about effective tactical operations. Federal Command Post buzzed with controlled activity as Special Agent Chun processed after-action reports from team leaders who were still struggling to comprehend how a local detective had accomplished what sophisticated federal sniper teams couldn't achieve. The tactical operation had concluded with complete success, but the manner of that success had created professional curiosity that extended far beyond routine multi-agency cooperation. Agent Foster, walk me through the sniper support sequence again, Chun requested, studying preliminary reports that seemed inconsistent with normal tactical procedures. A Metro City detective neutralized multiple threats at extended range using what kind of weapon system? Sir, Detective Martinez employed a .357 Magnum revolver with iron sights, Foster replied, his voice still carrying traces of amazement at what he'd witnessed. 2 precision shots at ranges exceeding 190 meters, both resulting in immediate threat neutralization. Shot placement was center mass, indicating combat-level marksmanship under tactical stress conditions. Chun studied the operational timeline, while trying to reconcile the reported events with his understanding of precision shooting capabilities. Federal hostage rescue team snipers were equipped with the most advanced rifle systems available, enhanced by sophisticated optical sights and trained through rigorous programs that emphasized maximum accuracy under combat conditions. Yet a local police detective had achieved superior results using equipment that belonged in a historical display. Agent Foster, what's your assessment of the detective's training background? Chun asked, understanding that exceptional marksmanship required extensive specialized preparation that went beyond standard military service. Sir, her shooting technique and tactical awareness suggest training that exceeds normal Army marksmanship. Programs, Foster responded. The precision engagement sequence, environmental calculations, and stress management indicate specialized sniper training, possibly at advanced military schools. But Sarah's personnel records showed only general military service without specific details about specialized training or combat assignments. Her transition to civilian law enforcement had been processed through normal veteran hiring procedures, and her departmental evaluations reflected competent detective work rather than tactical capabilities that exceeded normal expectations. Lieutenant Patterson arrived at the Federal Command Post to participate in operational debriefings that would analyze the morning's events and document lessons learned for future multi-agency operations. His primary concern was ensuring that departmental personnel had performed their assigned duties professionally, but the unexpected contribution from Detective Martinez had created questions about resource utilization during tactical operations. Special Agent Chun, I understand that Detective Martinez provided effective sniper support during critical phases of your operation, Patterson announced, seeking clarification about how local personnel had become involved in federal tactical responsibilities. Lieutenant, your detective's precision shooting was decisive for mission success, Chun replied. Without her intervention, we might have faced prolonged tactical engagement with additional casualties among federal personnel. The recognition was professionally gratifying, but Patterson realized that Sarah's demonstrated capabilities raised questions about why such specialized skills had remained unknown to departmental supervisors. Military veterans often possessed training that exceeded their civilian job requirements, but precision shooting at the level she demonstrated suggested a background that went beyond standard veteran experience. Special Agent Chun, what specific capabilities did Detective Martinez demonstrate? Patterson asked, beginning to understand that the morning's events had revealed expertise that hadn't been reflected in departmental records. Lieutenant, she eliminated 2 military-trained subjects at ranges approaching 200 meters using iron sights under tactical stress conditions. Chun explained. Federal sniper teams with advanced equipment were unable to achieve similar results. This represents shooting skills that exceed most federal training standards. The implications were becoming clear to Patterson as he considered how Sarah's hidden capabilities might affect departmental tactical procedures and resource allocation. If detective personnel possessed advanced sniper training, their skills could be utilized more effectively during emergency situations that required specialized responses beyond normal patrol duties. Meanwhile, Sarah was conducting her own equipment inspection while other tactical personnel observed her procedures with professional curiosity. 357 Magnum revolver was being examined, cleaned, and secured with the systematic attention that suggested extensive experience with weapon maintenance. Under field conditions, Officer Torres approached cautiously, his earlier skepticism replaced by genuine interest in understanding how conventional equipment had achieved unconventional results. Detective, that was an incredible shooting. How did you learn to make precision shots like that with a revolver? Military service included designated marksman training, Sarah replied, maintaining her standard response while noting the increased attention from personnel who had witnessed her performance. Proper fundamentals and adequate practice with reliable equipment. But Torres's experience with departmental training programs allowed him to recognize that her capabilities exceeded anything available through normal law enforcement or basic military preparation. Ma'am, those shots were at ranges where our tactical team would require scoped rifles and specialized training. Your precision with iron sights suggests advanced sniper instruction. The conversation was interrupted by Agent Foster, who had completed his own equipment inspection and wanted to discuss technical aspects of Sarah's shooting performance. His professional curiosity had been aroused by witnessing precision engagement that challenged his understanding of weapon system capabilities. Detective Martinez, I've been analyzing the ballistic requirements for your engagement sequence, Foster announced. Effective accuracy at 200 meters with a .357 Magnum requires ammunition selection and environmental calculations that exceed normal police training parameters. Sarah appreciated Foster's professional interest, but remained cautious about revealing technical details that might suggest training beyond what her records indicated. Agent Foster hand-loaded ammunition with bullets selected for extended range. Accuracy. Environmental factors were within acceptable limits for precision engagement. Ma'am, hand-loading ammunition for precision shooting indicates specialized knowledge that goes beyond recreational shooting or standard military training, Foster observed. The level of ballistic understanding required for those calculations suggests advanced sniper school instruction. The increasing professional attention was exactly what Sarah had sought to avoid throughout her civilian career. Federal agents and local tactical personnel were beginning to recognize capabilities that exceeded her documented background, creating curiosity about training and experience that she preferred to keep private. Special Agent Chun approached their group with preliminary reports that documented the tactical operation's success, while raising questions about resource utilization during future multi-agency operations. Detective Martinez, Federal After-Action Analysis credits your sniper support as decisive for mission success. We'd like to discuss potential cooperation arrangements for future operations requiring specialized precision shooting capabilities. The offer represented professional recognition of her skills, but also suggested ongoing involvement in federal tactical operations that could create additional attention to her background and training. Sarah understood that maintaining her low profile would become increasingly difficult if federal agencies began requesting her participation in specialized assignments. Special Agent Chun, I appreciate the recognition, but my primary responsibilities involve detective work with the Property Crimes Unit Sarah replied diplomatically. Tactical support was provided on an emergency basis during unusual circumstances. Chun studied her response while considering the operational advantages that her capabilities could provide during future tactical situations. Federal hostage rescue. Teams encountered engagement scenarios that required precision shooting beyond standard training parameters, and having access to personnel with advanced sniper skills could improve mission success rates while reducing casualty risks. Detective. Federal tactical operations occasionally require specialized capabilities that exceed normal team resources, Chin explained. Personnel with your level of precision shooting skills represent valuable assets for complex situations. But Sarah's experience had taught her that maintaining anonymity was more important than professional recognition, particularly when attention from federal agencies could lead to background investigations that might reveal classified information about her military service. Specialized capabilities were best employed discreetly, rather than publicized through official channels. The warehouse complex had been secured completely, with federal teams conducting systematic searches that revealed the extent of defensive preparations and weapons caches that subjects had accumulated. Multiple rifle systems with sophisticated optical sights, body armor, communications equipment, and explosive devices indicated planning for sustained resistance against law enforcement response. Subjects were equipped for extended tactical engagement, reported Team Leader Rodriguez during his operational briefing. Military-grade weapons, prepared defensive positions, and communication systems suggest coordination with external support networks. The discovery reinforced Chun's appreciation for Sarah's contribution to operational success. Standard federal tactical procedures might have required significantly more time and personnel to overcome defensive preparations that had been neutralized through her precision shooting, potentially allowing subjects additional opportunities to inflict casualties or escape containment. Lieutenant Patterson's radio communication indicated that departmental supervisors were requesting detailed reports about personnel involvement in federal tactical operations. Detective Martinez, Chief Harrison wants complete documentation of your participation in this morning's operation. Apparently, federal agencies have been requesting information about your training background. Administrative attention was inevitable, given her visible contribution to a high-profile federal operation. But Sarah understood that detailed reporting could create complications if supervisors began investigating capabilities that exceeded her documented qualifications. Her personnel file contained only general information about military service, without specific details about specialized training or combat assignments. Lieutenant, I provided sniper support during emergency circumstances when federal teams requested additional capabilities, Sarah reported. Standard precision shooting techniques using personal equipment maintained for emergency use. Patterson nodded, but his expression suggested that departmental administrators would require more detailed explanations about how a property crimes detective had achieved tactical results that exceeded federal sniper team capabilities. The morning's events had created professional attention that would be difficult to minimize. Through routine reporting procedures, Agent Foster approached with ballistic analysis equipment that he'd been using to examine Sarah's shooting positions and target engagement results. Detective, preliminary trajectory analysis confirms precision shot placement at ranges exceeding 195 meters. The accuracy demonstrated suggests specialized training at advanced military sniper schools. His technical assessment was professionally accurate, but Sarah realized that detailed ballistic analysis could reveal information about her capabilities that went beyond what she'd intended to demonstrate. Precision shooting at extended ranges required training and experience that couldn't be explained through general military service or routine law enforcement preparation. Agent Foster, adequate training and practice with reliable equipment, Sarah replied, beginning to secure her personal gear while considering how to minimize additional technical analysis of her performance. Ma'am, federal tactical teams would benefit from understanding your training methodology and equipment selection, Foster continued. The precision shooting techniques you demonstrated could improve our operational capabilities during similar tactical situations. The professional interest was flattering, but Sarah understood that sharing detailed information about her methods could lead to questions about training sources and background that she preferred to keep private. Advanced sniper techniques weren't acquired through programs that were accessible to normal military personnel or civilian shooters. Special Agent Chun's final operational briefing acknowledged the critical contribution that local law enforcement had provided during the tactical operation, with specific recognition of precision shooting support that had enabled mission success. Detective Martinez's sniper capabilities proved decisive during critical phases of the operation. Federal teams recommend her inclusion in future multi-agency tactical planning. The formal recognition represented professional validation of her skills, but also created official documentation of capabilities that would be difficult to minimize if federal agencies began requesting her participation in additional operations. Sarah realized that her carefully maintained anonymity had been compromised by circumstances that required revealing expertise she'd spent years concealing. As the tactical teams began departing the warehouse complex, Sarah observed the professional conversations that were occurring between federal agents and local personnel. Her demonstration of precision shooting had created respect among tactical specialists who recognized capabilities that exceeded normal expectations, but it had also generated curiosity about training and background that could lead to unwanted attention. Officer Torres approached for a final conversation about the morning's events and their implications for departmental tactical capabilities. Detective, what you accomplished today changes how we think about resource utilization during emergency operations. Would you consider participating in tactical team training to share your expertise? The request reflected genuine professional interest in improving departmental capabilities, but Sarah understood that formal involvement in tactical training would create additional visibility and attention to her background. Teaching precision shooting techniques would require explaining training sources and experience that she preferred to keep confidential. Officer Torres, emergency circumstances required utilizing available capabilities, Sarah replied. My primary focus remains detective work with the Property Crimes Unit. Torres nodded respectfully, but his expression suggested that departmental personnel would continue to view her differently following her demonstration of specialized skills that exceeded normal expectations. The morning's events had revealed capabilities that couldn't be ignored during future tactical planning or emergency situations. The federal command post was being dismantled as operational teams prepared to return to their normal assignments. But the professional relationships that had been established during the morning's crisis would influence future cooperation between agencies. Sarah's contribution had demonstrated that valuable capabilities often existed in unexpected forms among personnel whose documented qualifications didn't reflect their actual expertise. Agent Foster made a final approach to discuss potential ongoing cooperation between federal tactical teams and local personnel with specialized capabilities. Detective, federal agencies maintain databases of personnel with advanced tactical skills for emergency consultation during complex operations. Would you consider inclusion in such resource lists? The offer represented professional recognition and potential opportunities for meaningful contribution to law enforcement operations, but Sarah understood that formal inclusion in federal databases could lead to background investigations that might reveal classified information about her military service. Maintaining her anonymity required declining opportunities that could provide personal satisfaction and professional advancement. Agent Foster, I appreciate the recognition, but prefer to maintain focus on my current departmental responsibilities, Sarah replied, understanding that her decision would close doors that many law enforcement professionals would consider valuable career opportunities. 3 weeks after the warehouse operation, the ripple effects of Sarah's precision shooting demonstration had spread throughout law enforcement networks across multiple states. Federal tactical commanders who had reviewed the after-action reports were sharing professional discussions about a local detective whose marksmanship capabilities exceeded anything they'd encountered during specialized training programs. The story had taken on legendary qualities as it passed through informal channels among agents and officers who understood the technical difficulties of precision engagement at extended ranges. FBI Regional Director Amanda Stevens convened a special meeting at the Bureau's headquarters to discuss operational lessons learned from the warehouse incident and their implications for future tactical planning. The conference room was filled with supervisory agents from various departments who specialized in tactical operations, crisis response, and specialized weapons deployment. The warehouse operation demonstrated that valuable tactical capabilities can exist outside our normal resource allocation assumptions, Stevens announced to the assembled supervisors. A local police detective achieved precision shooting results that exceeded our hostage rescue team capabilities using equipment that most of our personnel would consider obsolete. Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Robert Manning, had reviewed the ballistic analysis reports multiple times, finding them difficult to reconcile with his understanding of weapon system limitations and training requirements. Director Stevens: the documented precision shots represent performance that typically requires military sniper school graduation and years of specialized practice. How do we account for such capabilities existing within local law enforcement without our knowledge? Stevens studied the operational timeline while considering broader implications for federal tactical resource utilization. ASAC Manning: this incident suggests that specialized capabilities are more widely distributed among veteran personnel than our current assessment procedures recognize. We may be overlooking valuable assets because they don't fit standard profiles for tactical specialists. The meeting's focus shifted toward developing better methods for identifying personnel with advanced tactical skills among local law enforcement agencies that participated in federal operations. Standard background checks typically revealed general military service but didn't provide detailed information about specialized training that might be relevant to tactical situations. How do we develop screening procedures that identify personnel with advanced capabilities without creating invasive background investigations? Asked Tactical Team Coordinator Agent Williams. Many veterans prefer to maintain privacy about specialized training, particularly if it involved classified operations. Stevens recognized the professional complexity of identifying hidden expertise while respecting personal privacy and operational security considerations. We need consultation protocols that allow voluntary disclosure of specialized capabilities during emergency situations while protecting personal information that individuals prefer to keep confidential. Meanwhile, at Metro City Police Department headquarters, Chief Harrison was conducting his own assessment of departmental tactical capabilities and resource allocation based on the warehouse incident. The revelation that Detective Martinez possessed advanced sniper skills had created questions about how many other personnel might have specialized training that wasn't reflected in their job assignments or departmental records. Captain Morrison conducted a confidential survey of all departmental veterans to identify personnel with specialized military training that might be relevant to tactical operations. Harrison ordered, "We need a better understanding of our actual capabilities during emergency situations." Morrison understood the chief's concern about maximizing departmental resources while respecting personal privacy about military service details. "Chief, how do we approach veterans who might prefer not to discuss specialized training or combat experience?" Voluntary disclosure only, Harrison replied. Make it clear that we're seeking to better utilize existing capabilities, not conducting investigations of personnel backgrounds. Some officers have expertise that could be valuable during crisis situations, but we need their cooperation to access those capabilities. The departmental survey would reveal information that surprised supervisors about the specialized training and combat experience that existed among personnel who had never mentioned such qualifications during their civilian careers. Veterans often chose not to discuss their military backgrounds in detail, particularly if their service had involved classified operations or specialized training that exceeded normal expectations. Detective Sarah Martinez continued her routine. Work in the Property Crimes Unit, handling investigations that required methodical analysis and attention to detail, but didn't involve the tactical capabilities she demonstrated during the warehouse operation. Her daily responsibilities remained unchanged, but the professional attention from colleagues had created subtle shifts in how she was perceived within the department. Martinez, got a burglary case that might interest you, announced Detective Kevin Foster, approaching her desk with files that typically would be assigned through normal distribution procedures. Multiple entry points, sophisticated alarm bypasses, suspects with apparent military training in covert entry techniques. The case assignment reflected how her colleagues had begun to view her differently following the warehouse incident. Personnel who had previously seen her as a competent but unremarkable detective now understood that she possessed specialized expertise that might be relevant to investigations involving suspects with military backgrounds or advanced technical skills. Sarah reviewed the case files while noting the increased attention from supervisory personnel who were observing her work methods with professional curiosity. Detective Foster, what makes this case different from standard burglary investigations? Suspects used entry techniques that suggest specialized training, Foster explained. Alarm systems were bypassed using methods that exceed normal criminal capabilities. The investigating officers thought your military background might provide insights about suspect methodology. The request represented exactly the kind of professional attention that Sarah had sought to avoid throughout her civilian career. Colleagues were beginning to connect her military service with specialized capabilities that could be applied to law enforcement work, creating expectations about expertise that she preferred to keep private. But the case files revealed evidence of break-in techniques that did suggest military or law enforcement training among the suspects. Lock-picking methods, alarm system bypasses, and evidence handling procedures indicated knowledge that exceeded normal criminal experience and might require specialized response capabilities. Detective Foster, I'll review the evidence and provide assessment of suspect capabilities. Sarah agreed, understanding that her expertise could contribute to successful investigation and apprehension of suspects who posed ongoing threats to community safety. The burglary investigation would become another demonstration of Sarah's specialized knowledge, as her analysis of suspect techniques led to identification and arrest of former military personnel who had been using specialized training for criminal purposes. Her insights about military entry procedures and technical capabilities proved decisive for understanding how the suspects had defeated security systems that had previously been considered adequate protection. Federal Bureau of Investigation analysts were conducting their own assessment of the warehouse operations implications for tactical training and equipment acquisition policies. Agent Foster's detailed reports about Detective Martinez's precision shooting had generated professional curiosity among firearms instructors who specialized in advanced marksmanship training. The detective achieved precision engagement results that exceed most federal sniper training standards, reported Chief Firearms Instructor Agent Davis during a training conference at Quantico. Her equipment selection and shooting techniques suggest training sources that might benefit federal tactical development programs. The conference participants included federal agents responsible for tactical training, equipment acquisition, and operational procedures that governed precision shooting during law enforcement operations. Many had military backgrounds that included specialized sniper training, but they recognized that the warehouse incident had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded their own experience. Agent Davis, what specific techniques or equipment factors contributed to her superior performance? Asked Training Development Coordinator Agent Thompson. Federal teams were equipped with advanced rifle systems and optical sights, but couldn't achieve similar results. Davis studied the ballistic analysis reports while considering factors that might explain the performance differential between federal teams and the local detective. Agent Thompson, preliminary analysis suggests that equipment familiarity and stress management were more important than technological sophistication. The detective used equipment she'd trained with extensively under combat conditions. The observation led to broader discussions about training methodology and equipment selection policies that emphasize technological advancement over proven performance under stress conditions. Federal tactical teams were equipped with sophisticated systems that offered theoretical advantages, but their training focused on controlled range conditions rather than combat stress management. Should we consider modifying federal training programs to emphasize stress management and equipment familiarity over technological sophistication? Thompson asked, beginning to understand that the warehouse incident had revealed weaknesses in current federal tactical preparation. The detective's performance suggests that confidence with familiar equipment under stress conditions can exceed the advantages provided by advanced technology, Davis replied. Federal training should include extended practice with individual weapon systems rather than exposure to multiple sophisticated platforms. Regional law enforcement agencies were implementing their own changes based on lessons learned from the warehouse operation. Police departments throughout the metropolitan area were reviewing their tactical training programs and equipment selection procedures to determine whether similar capabilities might exist among their own personnel. Sheriff's Department Training Coordinator Lieutenant Patricia Reynolds had requested detailed briefings about the warehouse incident to determine whether her department's tactical procedures needed modification. Sergeant Williams, what can we learn from Detective Martinez's performance that might improve our own sniper capabilities? Williams had attended the multi-agency debriefing and had been impressed by the precision shooting demonstration that exceeded federal sniper team capabilities. Lieutenant, the detective emphasized equipment familiarity and fundamental marksmanship over technological sophistication. Her training methodology might benefit our tactical team development. Reynolds understood that her department's tactical budget was limited compared to federal resources, making it important to maximize effectiveness through training rather than equipment acquisition. Sergeant, can we develop training programs that emphasize precision shooting with standard equipment rather than requiring sophisticated rifle systems? The warehouse incident suggests that advanced marksmanship skills can be developed with CONVENTIONAL equipment through proper training methodology, Williams replied. Equipment familiarity and stress management appear more important than technological advantages. The Sheriff's Department began implementing training modifications that emphasized extended practice with individual weapon systems, stress management during precision shooting, and environmental calculation techniques that had contributed to Detective Martinez's success. The program would become a model for other agencies seeking to improve tactical capabilities through training rather than equipment acquisition. National Guard units in the region were conducting their own analysis of the warehouse incidents. Implications for military tactical training and operational procedures. Major David Chen, commander of the state's military police battalion, had reviewed federal reports about the precision shooting demonstration with professional interest. Captain Rodriguez, federal analysis credits a local police detective with precision shooting that exceeded military sniper training standards. Chun announced during a staff meeting focused on unit training development. What can our military personnel learn from civilian law enforcement tactical innovations? Rodriguez had military sniper training and understood the technical challenges of precision engagement at extended ranges under stress conditions. Major. The detective's performance suggests training methodology that emphasizes practical application over theoretical capabilities. Military sniper training might benefit from similar approaches. The discussion led to broader assessment of military training programs that often emphasize technological sophistication over fundamental marksmanship skills and stress management techniques. National Guard personnel were equipped with advanced rifle systems but received limited training time for developing proficiency with individual weapons under combat conditions. Should we modify our training programs to emphasize equipment familiarity and stress management rather than exposure to multiple weapon systems? Chun asked, considering how civilian tactical innovations might improve military capabilities. The warehouse incident suggests that extensive practice with familiar equipment under stress conditions can exceed the advantages provided by sophisticated technology. Rodriguez replied, military training should include more emphasis on individual weapon proficiency rather than systems familiarization. Detective Sarah Martinez was becoming aware of the broader professional attention that her warehouse demonstration had generated throughout law enforcement and military communities. Colleagues mentioned hearing discussions about her precision shooting during conferences and training seminars, suggesting that her performance had become a professional case study for tactical improvement programs. Martinez heard your warehouse shooting is being discussed at federal training conferences, mentioned Detective Johnson during a casual conversation in the department break room. Apparently, FBI instructors are using your performance as an example of effective stress management during precision engagement. The information confirmed Sarah's concern that her demonstration had generated exactly the kind of professional visibility that she'd sought to avoid throughout her civilian career. Federal agencies and military units were analyzing her techniques and training methodology, creating a tension that could lead to background investigations or consultation requests that might reveal classified information about her military service. Detective Johnson, emergency situations sometimes require utilizing available capabilities. Sarah replied diplomatically, maintaining her standard response to questions about her specialized training and background. But the growing professional recognition was making it increasingly difficult to maintain the anonymity that had protected her privacy about classified military operations and specialized training. Law enforcement and military professionals were beginning to recognize capabilities that exceeded normal veteran experience, creating curiosity about training sources and background that she preferred to keep confidential. The warehouse operation had demonstrated that some expertise transcended equipment specifications and that proven capabilities often appeared in forms that didn't match contemporary expectations about effective tactical operations. Sarah's precision shooting with an antique revolver had challenged professional assumptions about technology and training, while revealing capabilities that existed outside normal resource allocation procedures, but recognition of her specialized skills was creating professional opportunities and attention that conflicted with her preference for maintaining a low profile during her civilian career. Federal agencies were requesting consultation about tactical training. Military units were analyzing her methodology for program development, and local law enforcement was seeking to better utilize hidden capabilities among veteran personnel. Broader impact of the warehouse incident extended beyond immediate tactical applications to influence training programs, equipment selection policies, and resource allocation procedures throughout law enforcement and military communities. Sarah's demonstration had become a catalyst for professional discussions about identifying and utilizing specialized capabilities that existed outside normal organizational structures. 18 months later, Detective Sarah Martinez received an Invitation from the FBI National Academy, requesting her participation as a guest instructor for an advanced tactical marksmanship symposium. The letter stated that her precision shooting demonstration had become a cornerstone case study for federal training programs. Chief Harrison endorsed her participation enthusiastically. Martinez, this represents national recognition of our department's capabilities. Federal agencies rarely request local personnel for instructor positions. The symposium would be held at the FBI's tactical training facility in Virginia, where she would address federal agents, military snipers, and specialized instructors who had studied her techniques through after-action reports. Agent Foster, who had witnessed her warehouse demonstration firsthand, would introduce her to the audience. 18 months ago, I witnessed precision shooting that challenged everything I understood about equipment capabilities. Detective Martinez achieved tactical results that exceeded federal sniper team capabilities using equipment most of us would consider obsolete. Sarah's presentation emphasized fundamental marksmanship principles over equipment sophistication. Effective precision shooting depends more on shooter capability than technology. Extensive practice with familiar equipment under stress conditions can exceed advantages provided by advanced systems operated by personnel with limited experience. The message resonated with federal instructors who had observed that tactical personnel often performed better with conventional equipment they understood thoroughly than with sophisticated systems requiring extensive technical training. Following her presentation, practical shooting demonstrations allowed federal agents and military snipers to observe her techniques directly. The sessions focused on iron sight accuracy, environmental calculations, and stress management methods. Detective Martinez's shooting technique emphasizes fundamental marksmanship principles that remain effective regardless of equipment sophistication. Agent Foster explained to participants, her performance demonstrates that advanced capabilities can be developed through proper training methodology. A Marine Corps instructor observed during the symposium, your warehouse performance represents shooting skills that exceed most military sniper training standards. The precision engagement you achieved demonstrates expertise, typically associated with specialized schools that few personnel attend. Returning to Metro City, Sarah resumed her detective work, but colleagues now viewed her differently. The ancient revolver no longer drew skeptical comments from personnel who had learned to appreciate proven performance over contemporary appearance. Sergeant Torres requested during a department training meeting, Detective Martinez, would you consider providing marksmanship instruction for our tactical team? Your techniques could improve our precision shooting capabilities using standard equipment. Her instruction sessions became popular throughout the department, with personnel learning that advanced capabilities could be developed through proper training rather than requiring sophisticated technology. The ancient sidearm that had drawn ridicule from tactical personnel had become a symbol of proven capability over technological promise, fundamental skill over sophisticated equipment, and quiet competence over visible authority. Sometimes the most effective tools were those tested under conditions that revealed their true reliability when everything else failed. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.